let's take some time for author Q&A. Again, we don't have a lot of people online right now, but if you would like to send me a question at my email address, I'll be happy to get back to you. And we do have a few questions that I've fielded from before the launch that we'll work on answering now. And so one of the first questions I got was, how long did it take you to write the book? And well, I could say most of my life, but again, the short answer is 7 to 8 months. Although I had the chorus and everything in place long before, it wasn't until they asked me to split the chorus that I thought about doing this. And it was in November of 2021 that we had that I looked at the concept and did some of the market research. And that was really abbreviated because I had actually looked into books when I started the chorus. And so that was really the official beginning. Outlined it, worked with Inham during December and January to get a more detailed outline in place. From February to May of 2022, we wrote and edited the book. And from May to June were the publication activities, getting it on Amazon, getting it in ebook format. And so it was roughly 7 to 8 months from start to finish. So the next question was for Inham. What inspired you to collaborate with Ray on the book?
I think the first thing that we all learn in project management are the triple constraints: scope, time, and cost. Now, as project managers, we know very well how to manage time. We are always on the lookout on the timelines. We know how to spot things when things get out of scope, when things get delayed, and so on. But when it comes to cost, most of us just let the accountants handle it. What we usually do is just look at the rate card, look at the number of hours or the material spent, do a little bit of arithmetic, and then say this is the cost over another cost saving. That's pretty much it. But project cost management is much more than that. There's a lot of planning involved in project cost management. There's a lot of analysis that needs to be done on possible scenarios, which project managers are not even aware of. So even if you don't manage project costs on your own, you still need to have a good idea about cost management. I personally find that this is an area to improve in most project managers, at least the ones I have met. But the challenge I've always faced is most of the books or material I have read on project cost management need an accounting degree to figure out the content. So what inspired me was the fact that I knew Ray's books are written in a way that they are easy to understand to new and also experienced PMs. So that's the reason why I wanted to collaborate with Ray, because I know that it will be something that's very easy to understand for even if someone who doesn't ever manage project accounts. So that's my motivation behind collaborating for this book.
Oh, good, thank you. Yeah, it's been a pleasure working with you, and I know that what started it was you contributed some edits and things to the previous book, and we had a very similar writing style, so I knew it would really work well for us to work together. So next question was for me. What's the significance of the title? And so I just wanted to let people know that we're looking at all aspects of project cost management in the broader sense, such as including project financial activities or financial structures, not just purely budget and estimating, as the PMBOK guide says, but some of those other areas that cost impacts. And so that was how the title came about. The next question for Inham. Tell us about the book's writing style and content structure.
We both spend a lot of time writing, editing, and rewriting many parts of the book to make sure it's written in a way that it's very easy to understand. And as Ray mentioned earlier, it started sometime in November or December, and then there were quite a few iterations before we actually came up with the final result. So Ray and I are from two cities which are at least 5,000 miles apart. I'm not sure exactly how far Ray is from London, but I know that it's at least 5,000 miles, and we have never actually physically met each other. But thanks to technology, we managed to collaborate without any problems at all. And we wanted to make sure that this is reflected in the writing style as well. So we wanted to make sure that anyone, especially people whose first language is not English, can understand it the same way a native English speaker would understand it. So that's how we organize the writing style of the book. And for the content structure, we made sure that it flows from not just follows the project life cycle alone, but it also flows in a way that we start off with easy concepts like set up a few guiding principles, things like the cost account, the accountant is your best friend, and a budget is only an estimate, and so on. So we have a few principles that the reader would always retain in their mind before they move on to the next level. So we always find that that's something that would work well with any reader, whether it's a experienced project manager or someone who's new to the profession.
Good. Well, thank you. And the next one is actually for both of us. Do you have any other stories about project cost management you can share? Did you want to go ahead, Inham?
Yeah, I have a nice story on this one. So I got into project management in 2006 or so, long after I embarked on the same profession. And I got a job in 2015 as a head of a project management department in a large company, Nasdaq listed with $1 billion plus revenue. So before that, my cost management skills were just limited to doing basic calculations and sending out invoices, like I mentioned earlier. About the only thing that I did was ask the accountant to send out the invoice and they follow up with the customer. But all of a sudden, I had to manage and track costs as part of my new job. Now, that was a very, very steep learning curve and a huge struggle. So that's when I realized the importance of having cost management skills. So my strong suggestion is, even if you do not directly manage costs as part of your role, it's a good idea to have that knowledge because you never know when it will be needed.
Good, thank you. So I actually have what I think may become another tip or best practice if we make a revision to the book, which happened recently. I do some work with member associations, and this one is not PMI, and they have to provide an annual budget. And the person responsible in the organization did not want to create a budget because they were having trouble getting the financials from the previous year from the accountant. And I told multiple times, I said, you've really got to have a budget. Just because you don't have the financials, you can do a zero-based budget. You have some financials from part of the year. You can work this out. You should do it. And they resisted and resisted. And finally, they learned the lesson the hard way. They had an unexpected expense, and they found out that there were legal issues for raising fees to members to pay for this because they had not created a budget. It was a legal requirement that they have a budget, one of several legal requirements that they didn't meet. And so now they're stuck with a big bill and limited ways to pay because they didn't want to go ahead and create that budget. So I've always had that problem. I think we talk about it in the estimating part of the book, that that you'll always deal with someone who says, well, I've never estimated that before. And I always tell them, well, there's some way we can do this. Somebody somewhere in the world has done the work. Let's see if we can find out, who can give us an idea. So I think that's going to be maybe for the next iteration of the book or for an update, that story will go in. So next question was for me, what kind of research do you do, and how long do you spend researching before beginning a book? Well, all of the books that I do are drawn from my years of work and teaching experience. So I never write about anything that I haven't spent an extensive amount of time with. And in particular, I also look for things where I've created courses that cover them. And so by the time I write the book, I've got years of research. I maybe spend 1 month, 2 months exploring new areas, making sure everything's up to date as possible, things like that. But most of the research is done before the book is actually written in it, and it's happened for years. So the next question, let's see, what has helped or hindered you most when writing a book? Well, besides having the help of a co-author on this book, I found that there are a lot of writing tools out there that are a tremendous help. I use Grammarly, which helps with spelling and grammar. I use what's called the Hemingway editor. It's really good for simplifying complex passages. Microsoft Word has an ability to determine the reading level. And I usually strive for an 8th through 9th grade reading level, particularly because that's the average reading level in the United States. And it also is roughly the average reading level of people who have English as a second language. And so that's why the books tend to be a little bit more readable, because I target that level, and I have a tool that helps tell me whether I've achieved it or not. And then I use something that Inham had suggested, Zotero, for tracking references and bibliographies. And I recently revisited a tool called the Index Generator, because I always have trouble generating indices for books. And that was a really good tool.